I'm Rick, 29M, and I spent 3 years dating my 27-year-old ex-girlfriend Taylor. Towards the end of our marriage, I came to a startling realization. My girlfriend and I first crossed paths at a place where I went for a job interview. She was among the candidates. We started talking while we waited for the interview. As we left, we exchanged contact information. Ideally, I believed that I would be hired after the interview because I was so qualified. Regretfully, she cleared while I failed. We quickly struck up a conversation during which she offered assistance with any leads for interviews as well as interview suggestions that helped her ace the final one. Fortunately, a few months later, I received one, and we hit it off. My girlfriend's sharp talks, great sense of humor, and exuberance drew me in even more than the fact that we work in the same industry. I didn't plan to fall in love with Taylor when I first met her, it just occurred. She seemed like the kind of clever buddy I'd love to have in my group of friends, so that was the only reason I requested for her phone number. More precisely, we traded phone numbers so that we could stay informed about the positions that we were interviewing for. As we became closer, we eventually fell in love and began dating. We were in a relationship for over 3 years when our relationship was ruined by something I discovered. Taylor and I shared a year of living together while we were dating. However, she stated that she wanted to move back in with her closest friend after a year. She wanted to spend her bachelorhood with her closest friend because she knew that we would live together after the wedding. That didn't seem like a problem to me, so I happily provided her the room she required. She was essentially living with me and her best friend since she came to see me on the weekends and spent some nights with me. We were a stunning power couple, and people could tell we were seeing someone else just by our behavior when we were out together, even if we didn't tell them. I had once been in a committed relationship in the past. I made the decision to take a break when the relationship ended badly. But when I met Taylor, everything was different. I was Taylor's biggest supporter during our relationship. I gave it all to her. I pushed her to work more, enroll in classes, and support her. She checked all the boxes, and I knew from the second year of our relationship that she would be the woman I would marry. She was good with other aspects of our relationship and knew how to love and care for me. We divided the expenses and took care of everything together throughout our first year of cohabitation. But the bill splitting ceased when she began alternating between her closest friend's residence and mine. I got her the things I knew she enjoyed for her birthdays and anniversaries, simply to make her smile. To be completely honest, she was my top focus at all times. I made a lot of sacrifices for her, and made every effort to maintain our happy relationship. I did all of this because I valued our connection and wanted it to be a peaceful, happy relationship, not because I was yearning to be with her. This is clearly in my memory. Taylor asked me an odd question out of the blue one night, while we were watching a movie, not long before she began alternating between her best friends and mine. She wanted my thoughts on relationships that are open. I chuckled when I said, right away, that individuals in open relationships weren't in love. She attempted to refute what I had said after taking offense. She told me over and over again how much she loved each other, and knew of many couples who were in open relationships. She said my voice sounded outdated. I shifted the subject, not giving it any serious thought. She asked, "What do you think about us having an open relationship?" one day when we were having dinner together. At first, I thought she was joking, but her look made it clear that she wasn't joking. I informed her right then and there that I would rather be single than be in an open relationship, and I was against the idea of having an open relationship. She never mentioned it again after that day, and I didn't give it any thought. I informed Taylor that I detested lying and cheating in relationships even before we were romantically involved. If my spouse were to cheat on me, I would never forgive her. Because of the scars I had from my last relationship, I reiterated this over and over. I didn't want to be in a position where I gave my heart to her just for her to betray me and break it. Thus, this was the primary cause. I also made sure that nothing would destroy our relationship on my end. Taylor's attitude changed significantly not long after she moved out, as I noted. She started it by getting me up during our dates. Every Friday night, we were expected to go out, whether it was to a nice restaurant, a food truck, or a park stroll. Every Friday, we went out as usual. The arrangement was for her to visit my place, and we would go out together because she was no longer living with me. When it first started, she would keep me waiting for hours on end, and if I called, she would either ignore me or say that we needed to reschedule because of an urgent matter. On other occasions, she would abruptly cancel our appointment just a few minutes beforehand, claiming to have texted me about it. I should have been wise enough to see that anything was off when that happened. Rather, since the majority of her justifications concerned her office, I bought into all of them and urged her to work less hours. I wasn't bothered when she canceled practically every time, even though it was unpleasant, because I was the patient boyfriend. After she moved out a year later, Taylor and I drifted apart to the point where, even though we lived in the same town, it felt like we were dating far away. It even took her longer because she was promoted in her office. We didn't spend much time together, as she began traveling frequently with her team. Things got so terrible when she returned to town that we had to rely only on WhatsApp communications. I would occasionally even send her messages, but she would never read them. Nevertheless, she would constantly post updates on WhatsApp. I tried talking to her best friend to talk to her when I reached a breaking point, but that didn't work either. When I finally confronted Taylor about how our relationship was deteriorating, she told me that her work was taking up much of her time. I found her excuse amusing because I knew she wasn't supposed to take her time at her job. Even independent contractors with multiple clients at the same time had more time than Taylor. Taylor made a commitment to get better after the altercation, and she did so for 2 months. She gave me more frequent calls, promptly answered my messages, and even gave me updates on her everyday activities. She even began spending the weekend at my house after a protracted absence. I was pleased with her modifications and felt that we were starting to get back on track. I didn't ask her to get a different job because I didn't want to come seen as an opponent of advancement. Rather, we reached a consensus on managing her hectic schedule. I thought it was time to finally settle down when this occurred. Taylor had never brought up marriage, and I think she thought it best if I brought it up on my own as the man. I so purchased a pricey engagement ring with the intention of popping the question to her when she next visited for the weekend. That particular weekend, she arrived on Friday as usual, and we had dinner at a posh restaurant. I tried to take the ring with me, but something inside of me stopped me. There, I could not make the expected proposal to her. When we got home later that evening, she dozed off in the middle of our Friday night movie. She had been complaining of being weary ever since she arrived over to my apartment, so I knew she was fatigued. I carried her to the bedroom and put her to bed out of affection. Her phone was wedged into the old couch seat when I went back to watch the movie we were watching. I presented it to her. I considered looking through her phone while I was watching the movie, but I decided against it. We used to be able to access each other's phones early in our relationship because we had nothing to conceal. I took a moment to think about it, and then I took her phone. However, fingerprint access was necessary. Sincerely, I was trying very hard not to be a nosy partner, and I was too lazy to go back to the room and obtain her fingerprint. But I couldn't resist being curious. Her fingerprints allowed me to access her phone at last, and I was stunned by what I saw. Her call log was the first thing I checked. I wanted to make sure she was talking to someone else on a regular basis besides myself and her best buddy. I skipped right over her call log. Her dad was always late, and she didn't have a good relationship with any of her older family members outside of her mother, so when I noticed a contact listed as Daddy, it was incredibly odd. My contact was kept with my name right above it, so I know it wasn't my number either. She had talked to Daddy 3 times that day, and then she had arrived at my place a short while later that evening. I looked through her WhatsApp out of curiosity, and there it was, there at the top of her messages, the contact. She had drifted off, so she hadn't read the text from Daddy yet. They had been corresponding all evening, even during our time at the restaurant, as I discovered when I opened the message. The emojis they used made it immediately clear to me that something was awry with their communication. I therefore made the decision to begin at the beginning of their discourse. When I learned that Taylor and her employer were dating, I was taken aback. While we were still dating, she was involved in another relationship. And from what I've read, she admitted to her boss that she was seeing me openly until we got married. Their talk went back a long distance, and when I learned that their relationship began about the same time she began to inquire about open partnerships, it gave me the chills. Not only that, but Taylor was paid a large sum of money to perform an abortion on his behalf. Her promotion served as a portion of her pay. I could unread everything I saw since I was so brokenhearted. The fact that they spoke about me and mentioned me in various conversations was another terrifying aspect. As I went on, I discovered that her father had suggested that she begin spending the weekends with me. Not that she wanted to. He urged her to do it so that I wouldn't feel envious of her for devoting more time to someone else. He had to convince her a lot before she finally accepted. He added that he wanted her to get preoccupied with me so that he could devote more time to his own family. He claimed that his wife was starting to suspect that he was cheating on her, and he didn't want that since his family was already grumbling about him. That was the silliest thing I had ever read, and learning that Taylor was not the real person behind the calls, messages, and updates hurt. I sat on the couch that evening, not knowing what to do. I considered a number of approaches to confront and expose her. The idea of waking her up with a bucket of cold water and demanding an explanation crossed my mind, but I struggled with anger management, and I knew that would land me in jail for physical abuse. I decided to take a walk in order to get my thoughts straight. I exported the full communication and sent it to myself before I left the house. The final texts were then marked as unread. I walked around for hours before I had an idea that was similar to what I saw on Reddit. I managed to finish this, even though it was really tough. I maintained my composure like nothing had happened the entire weekend. And the Tuesday after that, I went to her office before she departed on Sunday night. I was requested to wait for her because it was a corporate setting. I gave printed copies of Taylor's conversation with her supervisor to everyone I encountered, including the receptionist, while I waited. When Taylor arrived to visit me, a large number of individuals had the copies in their possession and were looking shocked. Upon seeing her office, one of the men exclaimed, "I knew it! I knew it! I told you something was going on, but you all said I talked too much." I gave Taylor a copy when she inquired about the situation since she was perplexed. She tossed the copy and attempted to restrain me after taking a quick look at what I had done. I was aware that HR would be informed as well, which would mean she would lose her job. As I left the room, I noticed how much admiration each person had for her. Just as I was going to get into my car and drive off, she raced after me, grabbed my arm, and said she could explain. She ran out of a taxi without shoes and came to beseech me not long after I got home. The neighbors came out because she kept pounding on the door of my house. I took advantage of the irritating situation to toss the little items she had left at my apartment out the window. I then instructed her to go be with her father. An hour passed, and she still wouldn't go, so her best buddy came over. Her best friend came over and tried to talk to me, but when I didn't answer, she packed everything I'd thrown and pulled Taylor into her car. Taylor has been phoning all of my friends to ask me to take her back ever since, and she has been blowing up my phone ever since. She is so bold to assume that despite everything she has done, we may ever be together. The point is, I still adore her in spite of everything that she has done. However, I'd rather not be with her. She has been pleading with me to see and talk, but I've been trying to move on and get over everything. I know it's ridiculous, but I have a meeting scheduled with her for the following week, and I'm not sure what to do. The experiences we had together in my flat are indelible. It has almost everything that makes me think of her. Though it would be awful for me to be with her, my heart longs for her. Does anyone else have a comparable story? I eagerly await your feedback. You seem to know just what has to be done. Behind your back, she was seeing someone else, and she even succeeded in becoming pregnant through this man and getting an abortion. Furthermore, you explicitly stated that you would prefer to be alone than to be in a public relationship with a male. OP, what is it that you are so confused about? Why would you continue to date someone who has betrayed you? First update. Hi everyone, I appreciate your feedback. Knowing that others have experienced the same thing makes me happy. You're fine. Taylor will cheat on me. Once more, even if I agree to give her another opportunity. She and other similar women never seem to be satisfied and always find a way to cheat. Taylor and I met as planned 2 days ago, and as soon as she saw me, she broke down in tears and caused a scene. We were at the park, so I even tried to hide the fact that I felt humiliated. Following our reconciliation, she informed me that she had never been a believer in monogamy, and that she considered me to be the type of man who would enjoy an open relationship as we got to know one another. However, she was upset and chose to go her own way when I rejected her suggestion that we have an open relationship. She found it amusing because she thought I would never learn about her relationship. She went so far as to say that she didn't want to tell me and would stop as soon as I asked her to marry me. What I had read on her WhatsApp message didn't align with anything she said though. She began to cry and apologize when I questioned her about the abortion. She claimed the pregnancy was mine, but she was in desperate need of the raise. Because she knew he wouldn't let her keep it, she lied to her supervisor and said she was pregnant for him. She negotiated a promotion and a substantial payment to go to another state for the procedure in order to end the pregnancy. I was deeply hurt that she planned to deceive me until we got married, even though I had no idea at this time whether she was telling the truth or not. Of all people, she was aware of my tendency to guard her body. She was aware that I would never want to give her to anyone. Nevertheless, she had an affair with her boss. Someone reported that when I asked her what she wanted, she told me that she wanted us to get back to how we were. I informed her it was not feasible since she had ruined her one and only opportunity. And we could never be the same again, no matter how much I loved her. As soon as she heard this, she sprang up and caused a stir. She became enraged with me, called me derogatory names, and claimed to have put up with me for years. Thus, I should have at least stayed with her. She claimed that since she had been helping me out, it was now her time to get paid. Then she abandoned me. I had no idea at this point that she had been sacked from her job and that her boss had also been let go. She did all in her power to win my forgiveness since she so badly wanted me to take her back. Furthermore, I recently found out that her closest friend was aware of her affair but chose to remain silent. Together, they misled me and withheld information from me. She called me just now, saying that she would be coming over tomorrow and that we wouldn't end things until she said so. It's alarming since I have never seen her behave in this manner. I threatened to call the cops if she didn't appear. In any case, I'll provide another update. If she's been putting up with you, why would she want to stay with you? Like, if she can hardly stand you, why would she want to be with you? And why would she suddenly decide against marrying you if she loved open relationships so much? She will undoubtedly cheat on you. However, she wouldn't even think of it as cheating. If the relationship is open, it's not cheating. Second update. Hi to all of you. I apologize for the extended delay in posting my next update. Before I could provide another update, I had to take care of something. As Taylor had promised, we went over, and I formally told her that our relationship was over. She chuckled. She claimed that since she put her work first and saw no negative consequences, she had no regrets about cheating on me. This is how I knew that even after we were married, she would continue to cheat on me. I was furious. Taking hold of her arm, I attempted to eject her from my flat. However, she gave me a hard shove. She took a giant hammer from her purse and began smashing items in the home when I tripped and hurt my arm. Among other things, she smashed my new laptop and the TV. When she was breaking up my house, I contacted the police to report harassment, and they arrived moments later. In addition, after hearing the fight and loud smashes inside the house, one of my neighbors had contacted the police. She found it hard to accept that Taylor would behave in such a manner. When the police finally arrived, Taylor was taken into custody. She shoved me so hard that I missed my step and collapsed, breaking my left arm. My arm healed, and I filed a lawsuit against Taylor. She needed to reimburse me for the money I paid for the hospital stay, and she also needed to pay for all of the harm she caused to my flat. The judge demanded to see images of the damages and my hospital costs when we were in court, and the total came to about $7,000. Because they were so pricey, I was unable to even replace them. The judge turned to face Taylor and asked her some questions after she had finished her conversation with me. In summary, Taylor acknowledged causing damage to items within my home and asserted that she destroyed my laptop and other items as retaliation for her employment being terminated. The judge ruled against her in a fit of rage. As I write this, Taylor has been told to replace my laptop, repair the appliances that she broke, and begin returning the money that I paid for the hospital. She has been extremely saddened by the realization that we will never be the same. Worse, she has been banned and cannot find employment in our town. The fact that she must endure all of this suffering and has received what she is due makes me feel incredibly satisfied. I want to thank everyone who left a remark on my main post. Thank you for your comments, everybody. Whoa, that is some extremely erratic behavior. And why would you act in that way? In the end, it only hurts her. Not only did she lose money, but she also lost the position that she seemed to have worked so hard for. She put in a lot of work, yes. Used her ability to raise it straight up to her employer. OP, you were just collateral damage. I apologize. How do you interpret this? We appreciate your participation today and ask that you leave your comments below.